There's one last thing I want to show you as an option, and that's changing the background. You don't have to be stuck with just a black background for your composition. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on the background, hold my Control key on the keyboard. When I click the background, it gives me some choices. I'll choose Composition Settings. And now I'll go to the background color, and you can see the default is black. If I click on it, I could change it to something else. So maybe I'd want to go with kind of this reddish gray here. I'll tell you what, I'll go more towards just a gray. And then I'll click OK. And click OK, and now I can play the composition from the beginning.
Do you need money for college? Come to.
And now I can just kind of scrub through it and see what the gray background would look like. Yeah, I'm not sure if I like the gray. Maybe I make it a little bit darker. Now the thing is, by changing the background color, it keeps the same background color throughout. So if I go back here and go to background color and make it just a little bit darker, it's still going to be gray throughout. Now, let's say you want to actually change the background for different scenes in your composition. Let's say I get up here to where the Cash for College workshop starts to appear. I'll place a marker there, and I'll go up and choose a shape tool. And I'll choose the color I want. Maybe instead of, I'll go ahead and do just a lighter color here, maybe a little bit of, in fact, let's see, I'll go with a little bit of a green here, and maybe a light, kind of a light green, and click OK. And now I'll go ahead and just click and drag outside my image to create a large rectangle that goes and fills the whole background there. Now this background is the entire length of my composition, so I'm just going to shorten it so that it starts where I want it to be, and I'll bring in the ending here, which will be right about here. And now I can take a look at it and see it just kind of pops on. But one thing it's doing is it's hiding everything below it. So what I want to do is drag this layer all the way to the bottom of my list to make sure it's not covering anything. And there it goes, right above the soundtrack. Now I can see the Cash for College on there. And what I want to do is, I'm going to start, so it'll start right about there, but I don't just want it to appear. So I'm going to go ahead and put a keyframe in. So I'll go down here and choose Transform and choose Opacity, set a keyframe, and I'll go forward a little bit and set another keyframe, and I'll go towards the end, just before the end, and set a keyframe, and then I'll go right to the end of it and set my last keyframe. Now my last keyframe I'm going to go ahead and change to 0 opacity, and then I'll go ahead and kick back to my very first keyframe and change that one to 0. And now when I scroll through this, you can see the background changes to that light green. So that's one way to change the color of the background. Of course, you could place different images as backgrounds too if you wished. And you just have to remember to do transitions between them, or you could just change the overall color of the overall PSA. Now I've decided to go ahead and change the background of all of my scenes, so I went ahead and created kind of this greenish background here behind You Could Win $1,000, and I've created kind of a bluer background here for the ending, which I think makes it work well. So make sure you have a good contrast between your colors, make sure they kind of complement each other. I also decided to go back and change my first background to black because I really like the strong contrast against these colors.